It's been a while since I've done one of these video blogs, so you have to excuse any bleeps, bloops, or blunders. But moving on to the topic at hand, education. My kids have spent a year here in Houston. They actually did fairly well. I'm surprised. Crossed the Muddy River and they thrived. Yay! Their only complaint was the amount of time given to pass the final exam. They weren't allowed to bring anything there to read or do, so they kind of sat there, did a little navel gazing. I'm not sure which is the worst distraction for the students that are still trying to finish the exam. A, having somebody sitting there reading a book. B, have someone hand in their papers and leave. Or C, sit there and do nothing. They're all bad. I'm sure the proctor had something to do. But moving on to the issue, there was a convergence of minds yesterday. You had Leticia Van Poot, who is running for lieutenant governor for the Democratic Party, and then you had Dan Patrick, who is running for lieutenant governor for the Republican ticket. And they met with Michael Williams, who's the head of the TEA, Texas Education Agency. And there was a concern as to which test better accurately measures the progress of students, the STAR or the TAKS. It was the TAKS, and now it's the STAR. It's an acronym. Go look it up. Michael Williams defended the STAR, saying, no, the STAR is fine. The fact is that staff and faculty had to play catch up, and everybody took a little issue with that, saying, what? This is the teacher's fault? No, the teacher knows the math. I mean, hopefully they went to college. Hopefully they got a good grade in this particular subject because they're teaching it now. They know it. Your problem lies with the fact that you have a student who's gone kindergarten through 4th grade. Now, every year there's a little bit of tweaking on each subject. Standards go up, standard goes down. There's little minor differences here and there, but not enough to create a huge gap. But when you start cramming more sophisticated math further down the line, you may end up with a fairly large gap. So you have a kid who's teed up and ready to go into 5th grade. He was ready, all the way up until it was September 2014, in which case, now there's a gap. He's missing certain fundamentals in order to be handling the math that's being assigned now in 5th grade. You have a teacher who has a class full of kids, and everybody learns at a different pace and different levels. But now you have to push not only these kids through, but you have to manage to cover the gap in the same amount of time that you had before. And let me tell you something. I'm not a teacher, but I know for a fact that must be incredibly frustrating. How do you fix that? It's like, well, you have to hire more teachers, or at least more power pros. You need to be able to divide a class into smaller groups in order to mind the gap, to fill it, to say, hey, we can get these kids up to par and excel and make sure they're ready for the 5th grade exam. So that leads us to the next thing. Of course, 5th and 8th graders are no longer, they're required, but this year they're not required to pass that exam because they're not going to be ready. Nothing to do with the teacher's fault, nothing to do with the kid. The level has been changed. So now everybody's going to be playing catch up with the same amount of money, the same amount of time. Unless you know unless you're a Time Lord and I don't know it, and you have a TARDIS hidden in your pocket, that's incredibly hard to do. The other issue for Texas schools, and it's almost bipolar. You raise the standards in elementary school, middle school, but high school, the kids don't have to take Algebra 2. They're not required to. They can take a different math. A different math. You have colleges that are pulling their hair out of their heads because they have kids coming into their universities having to take remedial math classes because they're not ready to take college level courses. And these courses that they're taking are not part of their core curriculum. They're not towards their major, so that they don't count towards graduation. And people are paying $180 a credit hour for a math class that isn't going to count. I have 4 kids in the public school system. And I try to keep a vigilant eye as to what exactly is going on to make sure that when they turn 18, and they're let loose on the world, whether they go to a 4-year college, a 2-year college, or a technical school, that they are prepared the best way I know how. I only hope that when I'm talking to the counselors and they're saying yes, 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 that we really are all on the same page. I'm Adriana Maxwell. Thank you for watching.